evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor Mad Mouth, okay, because we have a day off, okay? Sometimes words come out of your mouth. With me, anything can happen anyways. We want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. Happy Thanksgiving from our crew here. I'll introduce the crew before we talk about the business at hand. The pundit, Jacob Christner. What's going on, Jacob? Round two tonight.
Feeling good, and we're getting before Thanksgiving, and I'm having fun.
And JB Ellis, he's back.
How's it going, everybody? What's going on?
Looking forward to tomorrow, my friend. And then, of course, Candy and I go out there and take the track up to your neck of the woods on Friday night. So looking forward to seeing you at long last in person. So
definitely.
And George Eichhorn.
Round two. Happy to be here. And again, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Absolutely. All right. Just want to let everybody know that Sports Exchange being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're looking to get more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Just chime into the chat room. That's one way to get in here. The other way is to send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter /X @Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes, although she did a great job on the first end of this doubleheader with Pundit's Pundit. And my book is out on Amazon and Kindle called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. So this would be a great Christmas gift or for any budding journalist that wants to get in the business. So with that said, we have a very busy agenda tonight, and we'll start right now. So at long last, Jimmy Johnson is going into the Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor on December 30th, 2023 against the Detroit Lions, and the day after my birthday. With that said, Jacob Christner, what are your thoughts about Jimmy Johnson finally getting his due with the Cowboys?
Well, you know what it is? It's two older men that had a bitter feud, realizing that they're old, and this is not worth it. And it's time to bury the hatchet. It's time to go. And I'm happy for this. I love it. It's time to get I would love to be able to see a lot of this happen over the years with a lot of different sports. But here's the thing. At least these one's like in their 80s, one's in their 70s. So this is bound to happen. A lot of the other ones are younger. So I believe, truthfully, we're not going to see this happen normal, but I'm happy for this one.
JB?
The fact that it took this long, the stupidest thing ever. Jimmy Johnson was there when they changed from Tomlandry. He led the team with Troy Aikman and Michael Irving and Emmitt Smith to great heights. He was phenomenal. The team wasn't as good when they switched to barryswitzer. Jerry Jones just had to forgive and let go of whatever emotions he had and be happy. There's no reason for stupidity like this. It took way too long. Without Jimmy Johnson, they weren't the same team afterwards, which was evident, and it's about time this has happened.
Yeah, you could say that Barry Switzer's ring was compliments of Jimmy Johnson. Go ahead, George.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Really. Jimmy went, I think it was 44-36 as the coach, but take a look at his postseason record, 7-1. Long overdue. I agree, guys. I mean, it took too long. I've seen these situations before, though. These owners are sometimes hard heads. And we had a situation here with one of our teams in Michigan. And I mean, this is something that happens all over. And it's unfortunate because, like you said, it's like you don't want to say too little, too late, because it's not too little, too late. It's an honor and it's late. But no way would you belittle that from happening. So, I appreciate Johnson's braveness and not shouting out his mouth or anything like that. I mean, Jerry Jones is that type of guy, though. So, no, I'm happy that it's coming. Well overdue.
Yeah, now that Johnson's going in the Ring of Honor, don't be surprised if Jerry Jones bothers to make another phone call. Hey, you have any more Herschel Walker trades up your back of tricks? We could probably use a little bit of a miracle.
Well, the one, by the way, the 1 in 44 and 36 is just because of 1 in 15 and 7 and 9.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, 2.5 Super Bowls. I still don't think Switzer deserves his, but yeah. Now that Jimmy and Jerry are talking, they'll be talking more than just the Ring of Honor. Maybe like personnel moves, even though Fox will probably look the other way. So, all right. Well, let's talk about fantasy football. I never thought I'd see the day that I'd be bringing fantasy football up, but I have a good reason too. So sit tight. Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson on fantasy football. My health is way more important than winning your fantasy games. It doesn't matter how many times y'all flood my direct messages talking about me selling your team. I don't care. All right. Well, you know what, Justin Jefferson? I agree with you. I don't play it anyways. All right, Jacob.
Good. You know that little meme, JB, when they showed the comedian on the thing? Good. Remember that one?
Yep.
That's what I'm going to say. Good. Yes. That's what the whole point. Yeah, I play fantasy. And yeah, I have a little braggart because I'm winning both this year. Having a little fun with it. But one of the biggest issues with fantasy football, what we have all the time, is you get these players that have a bad moment or they get injured. Then they get threats on DMs. Then they get threats on social media and all this stuff. They get angry from people that spent a bunch. Like, we put $100 on this. We put $1,000 on this one. That's your fault. These are still human beings with families. You're overboard here. You're overboard. And the biggest thing is you're putting all this money out on a 12-team league, 10-team league, which means you're maybe hoping for third place at the least thing to be able to get money back. This is your fault. This is your stupidity. Leave these players alone. They're still human. And yeah, I personally, to me, the way that these fantasy football players go, I wish Justin Jefferson would just finish the year out and just sit, just to irritate him. I know he won't because they have a possibility of a playoffs, but it makes me want to see that because it drives me insane the way these players act, the fantasy players.
Listen, this is another example of fans that are just dumb. Players are people. Yes, we all look up to players. Before I started doing this, I was a fan. I was a fan first. I liked who I liked. I dislike guys on my team. But when it comes down to it, I play fantasy football. If I lose in fantasy football, it's because of me. It's not because of Justin Jefferson. I'm the guy that picked him. I'm the GM of my fake team. So I said, let me get Justin Jefferson. It's not his fault if he drops a pass and I lose. It's my fault because I thought he was better than what he was. But guess what? He's still a person, and I'm not going to sit here and rag on him because he made a mistake or, the people that have death threats against them, that, talk about their families online. Get over yourself. What kind of person has that little of a life that because they lost in fantasy or they lost a bet, that they're threatening a professional athlete or talking bad about their family or, people that use racist, homophobic slurs on these players? It happened earlier in the year to his teammate, to Madison. These people need to seek mental health because this is a disgusting behavior. I don't want to be friends with people like that. And I get it sucks to lose, but don't you think it's more important that the guy's healthy so he can continue his career?
Yeah.
Well said, Joe.
I'll
tell you what, I won't even have a comment because you pretty much took everything. You fall into the GMTA tonight, Joe. Great minds think alike. So I lean in your direction, and that's all I have to say. I don't play fantasy football. I like to just cover the sport and talk about it, and that's it. I have no use for that other stuff. Nothing against what people do for entertainment, but it doesn't interest me anymore. All right, George.
Well, yeah, I'm in your boat too, Scott. I mean, I've never participated in it. I understand the vast majority of the guys that are in it and ladies as well. They enjoy it and have fun. But yeah, when this stuff hits home in a real life scenario, and this kind of crap going around about contacting them and threatening them and all this other BS, that's got to stop. There's no question about it. I mean, okay, yeah, well, look at all the guys that had Kirk Cousins. Well, it wasn't his fault. I mean, he got injured, and now, he's gone for the year. I mean, the people that had Rodgers and with the Jets or whoever, I mean, these things happen. These are real life situations, like you said, and these injuries are real life. They're not faking it, but their life is just all not football. They have a family to support. They've got a family to love and to nourish. And, the fans are a big part of every athlete's repertoire, if you will. But the family and their health is number one and number two. So I think it's wise to try to just put the brakes on this stuff a little bit, people, and try to make sure that you have a level head and not a crazy obsession, which some of them obviously have turned into fantasy football with.
Now, I will say
can I
this.
just,
I'm sorry.
Can I just piggyback real quick?
Sure.
And then, people have the nerve to be upset when players don't want to interact with fans. This is part of the reason why, because people become obsessed and compulsive about things like this. And why would I want to now interact with the fan I see outside? Because I may have to hear, 3 weeks ago I cost you a game that meant nothing. So you can't have it both ways.
Yep.
Well, those are good points. I have to admit, I did win 2 championships in Yahoo leagues and always had a good record. But then again, I don't want to boast or brag, but when you're in the business covering it, you'd like to think you know a little bit more about what's going on than the average outsider. Not boasting. I actually won in a family league because my wife asked me to play in it. They needed a player. So I ended up doing it 1 year. And 1 year I actually played in the Yahoo League where I picked like 10th and they got the first pick in the second round. But I never traded players. If they were no good, I just got rid of them. Like I get rid of a lot of people that get on my nerves anyways. It was like, see you later. You get on my nerves. You're out of here. That kind of stuff.
I'm going to call you for next year's draft, and Scott.
No, that's all right. No, I'd rather you find some of these fans out there instead. Maybe they can help me out. No, that's okay. I appreciate you can call me anything but that. Okay. All right. On to our third topic, which I think is pretty cool, actually. Although if you're an Auburn Tigers fan, it isn't so cool at all. But a painful loss by Auburn and a very expensive one, I might add, too, because New Mexico State got $1.8 million check from Auburn. Then they delivered a 31-10 beatdown to the Tigers, who are 6-5, who are just 26-point favorites. Hats off to Jerry Kill, formerly used to coach over at the University of Minnesota, and the Aggies play in the conference title USA in 2 weeks with Liberty. So now I found some other interesting stats on this that I thought were actually pretty good. And one of the things I should point out about it is that this is New Mexico State University's first win over an SEC team, 7th straight win, and secures the first 9-win season at New Mexico State University since 1960. So when you look at everything in perspective here, okay, New Mexico State had to jump into Conference USA because they were running out of options to play, and they got $1.8 million of their athletic program and got to beat an SEC team. This is good stuff. What do you think, Jacob?
I'll tell you this. It just shows. It's a reminder of my alma mater. This is 20 years ago. Played Auburn. Lee University plays Auburn. Within about 5 minutes left, they're up 6. And then blows it. But then they played like Hawaii, beat them. They lost a couple of close games with these teams, like with exhibitions. And all of a sudden, I look at the schedules every year, nowhere close to any of those kind of exhibitions ever again. 20 years later. It's like, and that was 20 years. This is now. And it's like you schedule these exhibitions, you give them their money, and then now they're beating you. Now they're beating you. And it's like, the reason they're beating you is because it can be a Division III school, it can be an NAIA school, it can be Division II. We talked about the Tyson Bages in the NFL as a starter, partial. And from Shepherd, who played Colorado School of Mines for his final game. And then first game he gets is Minnesota. So these are the little things. These are real athletes now. Levels are everywhere now, not just going from D2 to Division 1 to the top. The levels are everywhere. Most of the time it's grades. Most of the time it's whatever. But you can't just write off any game anymore. It's like Florida State last week. They get a team. I forget who they were down 14-0 too, and it was 3-7.
Yeah, North Alabama,
and they're 3-7. So you can't write anybody off. These are real. These athletes go everywhere now. So it just shows. I mean, Auburn Auburn basically was 20 years behind on that little situation, obviously, and Alabama's going to murder them.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, you're talking about Auburn against New Mexico State is what we're talking about. And this was a monumental win for this program. Jerry Kill is probably the most underrated coach in college football. He really, really is. And not only to collect $1.8 million, beat an SEC school for the first time, you get a win and you look good doing it. So,
and he has the coolest name in college football.
Yeah, the Aggies?
No, Kill.
Jerry Kill. Okay.
Yeah, he has the coolest name in college football.
Well, I know we have a few Aggies out there, but we won't talk about Texas A&M Aggies because that's for another day, another time. JB Ellis, what are your thoughts about NMSU beating the Tigers?
Welcome to the new state of NCAA football, where the SEC has way too many teams and they're not as good as they used to be. And you have teams that surprise you because now there's a transfer portal. So you could go to that other school to start. I could start at New Mexico State, play 2 years, and transfer to Michigan or to Alabama if I'm good enough. I don't have to start there as a freshman and work my way through that system. I can get the playing time at New Mexico State. And now I could transfer my junior year, my senior year, or be a grad student transfer. So there's so many different more options for these players now where they're not locked into that. I'm stuck at Michigan. I'm stuck at whatever school. So I can go to that smaller school. And on top of that, these teams are getting paid to come to these institutions that are, when you think of great college football, you think of Auburn, you think of Michigan. You have these little schools or these schools that don't have that tradition coming in and beating them.
Right.
It's a bad look for the game,
Yeah, but what's a good look for the game, though, Joe, is next year you're going to have the 12-team college football playoff, and some of these teams that you're not hearing about a lot now, one or two of them could slip into that playoff. So, but you make some other great points about it for sure. All right, George.
Well, yeah, I mean, Auburn is bowl eligible, but yeah, they face a tough task against Alabama this week. No, I'm happy for New Mexico State. Long time ago, we had a team called Appalachian State, who everybody overlooked, and they pulled into Ann Arbor to face the mighty Wolverines at the Big House, and we all know how that one turned out, didn't we? Nobody gave Appalachian State a heck of a chance to win that game, and lo and behold, they did. So you're right, Scott. I mean, this is a big boost for them, a big boost for their program. New Mexico State, hats off. Beating Auburn. I know this isn't the best Auburn year, obviously, but it's still a big team and a big victory. And, of course, it's going to propel New Mexico State into a nice bowl game, obviously, as well. But, yeah, I mean, things are there's a little bit more parity. You can see that happening now in college football, definitely, with the transfer portal and obviously things like that going on. So, I congratulate New Mexico State as well. Great win.
Well, let me point this out to you, George. Okay, you say nobody gave Appalachian State a chance. I actually thought they could give Michigan a heck of a game, and I'll tell you why. I had a prognosticator down here who used to come to me for ideas because he knew I've been around the game a long time, and I knew that Appalachian State had won the championship. I think it was they call it FCS now, but Division 1 or 1AA, whatever. It's FCS. And when they did, I said, and I told this guy, I said, you know what? Appalachian State, if Michigan takes them lightly, they may end up losing this thing. And where I was watching the game, I was covering Florida Atlantic against Middle Tennessee State, and lo and behold, they did win it. So I had a real weird feeling about it. Because anytime you bring in an FCS school that's won okay, that has won a championship on their level. Hey, look at James Madison, what they're doing. This team may not even get into a bowl game because they have to wait 2 years. Okay, this is a topic you should have had on Pundit, Jacob. Okay, about James Madison, about the 2-year requirement before you can actually get in there. Hi, Ralph Williams. Happy Thanksgiving.
I know about the requirement. We actually talked about 6 weeks ago. I didn't know if it would be a double thing. We talked about it's the idea. Maybe 6 weeks ago, probably 4 months. It's based off the idea. It's based off.
We're talking 4 months. We're talking later. Okay, they didn't have the record that they had. Okay, Liberty. Okay, you can ring the Liberty bell in Philadelphia, but when you ring the Liberty football, they're a pretty good program out there. They really are.
Undefeated.
James Madison as well.
Yep.
So when you have that rule, but not to get off subject too much on this whole deal, is what Mississippi's New Mexico State did was great. But again, as Joe mentioned moments ago, you've got lots of different ways you could build programs much quicker. Deion Sanders thought he could do it by having all these transfers, but all of a sudden he's sitting at 4 wins, not making a bowl, but that'll be for another night. So more power to New Mexico State University, and you have a great coach there. And Jerry Kill, who's outside of his epileptic seizures, this guy's won in a lot of different places, and I'm really happy for him. So, all right, on to our next topic. LeBron James becomes the first player in NBA history to reach 39,000 career points. To me, more power to him. And every record he sets here on points he's only padding on the whole thing. Do I think it's a big deal? No, I really don't. And I'll tell you why. Had he played in a different era where there isn't a lot more hand checking, I don't think he gets 39,000 points. Do I think he could get 30? Well, maybe. But I'm from, as we can talk about pleasant memories, the Basket Bros era, of old time basketball when it mattered and the players played it right. 39,000, I don't think he sniffs that number in the old days, but more power to him. He's got 39,000. That's my thought. What is yours, Jacob?
Yeah. It's going to happen. The thing is, he's on his 20th season, maybe 21. And he's just going to be padding the numbers now. And it's like, of course, it's impressive. The impressive thing about it is the fact that there are certain games where he looks 28 years old still, which shows the $1 million a year that he spends on his body to keep it going. And I give it that. But it's like at the same time, remember, there's no hand checking right now. It's not near as rough of a game. So the biggest thing about this is you got to remember the basketball we grew up with, you couldn't go in at free will. To be able to get something like that. So he would have had to been a better outside shooter than he is. Would he have 39? No. 30 probably. But 30 is still amazing. There's very few to have that. That's 5 people. There's like 5 people in the NBA that's got that. So
I didn't say 30 was bad. I'm just saying 39, he wouldn't have gotten it back then. That's all.
No. And it's like, and you got to remember, it's like he's got it on this 20 seasons. I think we get it, all of us, and this is all of us. We all get irritated with LeBron because he'll just take his time off, sweet time off. When there was eras, you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who had 16 years of 82 games. Out of his 21 years, he had a ridiculous stamina, and it's like, what could you do for your body? Good that you take care of your body, but so did Abdul-Jabbar, and it's obvious he did yoga because he was all flexibility. He was all skinny and he was all flexibility, and he made it. And he did constantly play, and he didn't get hurt the same way. So what could you do to be able to keep 82 games going?
Don't tell that to AJ Green, or is it AC Green? He
played AC Green, all. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He played them all. This guy didn't have an excuse. He just suited it up like Cal Ripken. All those other men, all he did was play every game. So AC Green, if there's ever a record that would never be broken in the NBA, it would be that one because of load management. All right, JB's chomping at the bit to get his hands on this one. All right, give it to me, JB.
Listen, anyone that knows me knows I'm not a fan of LeBron. But you know what? Listen, it's a great record. He's a winner. He does what he needs to do to get his team to play at their best. I think he would be able to play back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, he would have played differently. He'd still be great. He has all the talent. Would he have 39,000 points? Probably not. But he'd still be one of the better players, without a doubt. I just think it was a different game then compared to how it is today. He definitely wouldn't cry the way he does now because guys like Charles Oakley, Dennis Rodman, they would have put up with that.
Right.
Someone would have, knocked him out somewhere along the lines, but that's neither here nor there. And, but listen, great accolades for him. He's definitely a winner. I can't say, that without it. Can't say enough about that. As much as I dislike his game, he's, I never liked Bird, but I respected him. I never liked Jordan, but I respected him. Same thing with LeBron. Nothing but respect for his game. Do I think he cries too much? Yeah, but whatever. He wins and he makes his team better. And he's still doing it at whatever age he is right now, 38, 39, whatever. And, that's what you want on your team. You want a guy that's going to make your team better till the end. And when you play that long and you're the best in the game, you're going to set records and you're going to be the best and do these things. So more power to him.
Okay, George.
Yeah, LeBron, congratulations. I mean, in any sport, we can look back and say, oh, well, if you played in that era or this era. I know that's something that I don't usually do, but I see your point on that, Scott and crew. But the fact of the matter is he still had a brilliant career, lots of scoring. And obviously, things have changed so much in the NBA over the years as far as where the shots come from, not where they used to come from back in the days of Will Chamberlain and Bill Russell and Dave Bing and Rick Barry and all these other greats. But I'll tell you what, I'll still take it. I mean, his record is a record, and there are a lot of great players in the NBA, and he's certainly in my top 5. But he might not be, let's put it this way, the most friendliest basketball player to all the fans and to all the faithful. But he certainly knows how to play the game and has done a remarkable job. So hats off. It's a good record for him.
Okay, I'll address another topic here. Denver Broncos safety Kareenjackson, who's 35 years of age, has been given a 4-game suspension for his Week 11 hit on Minnesota Vikings quarterback Joshuadobbs. That suspension was upheld by Officer Derrick Brooks on Tuesday. He's obviously for repeated violations of playing rules with the intent to protect the health and safety of players. Now, earlier this season, these numbers staggering too. He had a separate 4-game ban, but that was reduced to 2 games. He forfeited $279,000. He's been fined 4 times for $89,670. These 4 games are going to cost him $559,889. When will he ever learn? Well, I'll tell you what. I say if he hadn't learned by now, he never will. And that's all I'm going to say. I'll let you guys take this topic away, but don't hold your breath. He's not going to learn. Jacob?
This is the era of, he is like the NFL version of the fan that watches a bunch of the YouTube videos of a bunch of hits from the 80s, wishing that it was back the good old days. And he just watches and watches and watches, and then he does it himself. There is no question he has an old school in him that he wants to, because if this doesn't stop by now, it never will. It's his mindset that you can't change his mindset. That is the issue. He's probably irritated that he's losing all this money. But this is what happens when you hear a comment section that says, I wish it was the good old days. You have somebody trying to make it that way. That kind of thing, the spearing, the targeting, all that kind of stuff without any kind of provocation or without any kind of problem. But now what do we have? We have fines. We have fines for the Deontay Foreman just putting his head down and trying to get an extra 3 yards. He gets $21,000. That's like they're really getting onto that type of thing. So Kareenjackson ain't going to learn. And in fact, he's probably going to be done with the league sooner than later.
JB?
Are you kidding me? Is this football or are we playing, basket weaving? It wasn't that bad of a hit. Can it can it possibly be because it's a Sean Payton team with Bountygate in everybody's mind from years ago? Maybe that's why they're coming after this guy so hard. It wasn't that bad of a hit. It's football. Get over it. It's one thing, there have been much worse hits. He has a track record, so that obviously puts him in the minds of the front office of the NFL, where they're going to look at everything he does. But it really wasn't that bad of a play. I want to know how you're supposed to run at full speed, attempt to tackle somebody that is in amazing shape, because every offensive player in the NFL is in amazing shape. They're in better shape than 99% of Americans. You have to tackle them while you're running at full speed, but be careful you don't put your shoulder ahead a certain way, because you're going to get suspended or fined. Or stop when the quarterback goes to slide when you're running full speed. Get out of here. This is football. You can see the difference with things that are obvious. This wasn't that bad of a hit. Get over it. We're suspending a guy costing him thousands of dollars for a football play. If you want to get somebody, just wait. This wasn't the play to do it.
No, the only thing that haunted him was his unfortunate reputation. And he's starting to develop a rap sheet like Ndamukongsuh when he was with the Lions. If there's anybody that had a rap sheet and had to go to the principal's office, it was Ndamukongsuh. But you know what, JB? Other than that, you're right. People realize that football is a physical sport. We're not talking flag football, by the way. We're talking real football. We're not talking fantasy football where everybody can threaten each other through a DM. We're talking real football, right? Where you hit each other. Well, once upon a time, there was a guy named Dickbutkus. Oh, I can only imagine how many fines he would have gotten during this time.
Oh, he'd get a lifetime ban at this point.
What's that?
He'd have a lifetime ban if he played now.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. Again, you're back to the GMTA thing, Ellis. You're getting good at this stuff. Good stuff, man. GMTA, Dickbutkus. Of course, you're a Chicago guy anyways, whatever. All right, George.
How do I follow that, Jacob? How do I follow these two guys?
That's a good question, but try.
Listen, Conrad Dobler. There's another one that got away with a lot. Back in the day,
he's been out in the preseason.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, JB. I've noticed that too. Some of these calls by these refs, I mean, they are really marginal. I mean, they're protecting the quarterbacks like crazy. And of course, and the same in college football. Oh my God. If it wasn't one, you got 5 of those. Play under review, head contact, illegal contact with the helmet or whatever. Hey, come on. I mean, I get it. I mean, this is a sport that was always banging each other and banging helmets and I mean, there's certain things obviously you can't do, stomp on a player and all that. But I tell you what, it's the reputation thing. I've seen it before with, guys having a reputation, a Rick Mahorn, or back in the day, a Dennis Rodman. And like you mentioned earlier, there's so many players that get these reputations. And I really think that this one was a little borderline. But again, you're sitting in a situation where the NFL, they're going to come down. They're going to come down, and they're going to come down hard, especially if you had previous fouls or previous suspensions. So I see it. I don't particularly like it because some of the cases are a little bit extreme for me and not fair to the players.
Well, you better remember, though, Derrick Brooks is a former NFL player, right? He ended up making the call on this. So they're starting to bring more and more players into these decision-making roles. And he's the one who didn't go out there and reduce it because of his track record. So we're talking about a player who obviously made the call on a former player making the call on a player. All right, well, you know what? We'll tone it down just a little bit here. And I want to know what everyone is thankful for. I'll lead off with Jacob.
I'm thankful always for the usual, the family, friends I get, but I am thankful for Sideline. Really am, because we started this whole deal during COVID. We did. And JB knows this part. I got on their journey with the Jays, one of their very first shows. And the funny thing is, the only show I ever made was Journey of the Jays, and I've been on everything else multiple times. No, I'm proud, but no, I'm thankful for this opportunity, because I've gotten so much better in everything I've done, from acting to a lot of my discipline that I've done, everything. I couldn't be prouder of these situations. I'm thankful for everybody here. And Scott being honest with me at all times, JB giving me the chance. I mean, Scott and George, both my mentors, and I am proud. I'm proud of all this, and I'm learning from the very best, and I couldn't be more thankful for that.
That's right. We appreciate the kind words. All right, JB, what do you have?
Obviously, family, the friendships I've gotten throughout doing this. I mean, 3 great people right here. The partnerships with both the South Florida Tribune, DBTV, NGBN, the Alumni Media Group. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but there's so many great partners we've gotten to work with. John, Jake, Dave on Sideline Sports, who've become like family, as you guys have. And just getting to do what we all love. That's a pretty great experience when you can have fun and do what you love.
Hey, George.
Well, oh man, where do I start? I mean, I just
at least you're not in a predicament that Jacob is in, scrambling for time. You have a little bit.
Yeah. Well, of course, I go back with Scott so many years, so 43, 44 years. I'm just so pleased and happy to be part of this crew right here. You guys have done a terrific job. I know Candy behind the scenes, a great job. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on with you all. Appreciate, of course, my family and children and wife and all my family members that have been supportive of me during this journey. It hasn't been easy, but and I know Scott knows this, and you guys do too. The guys behind the scenes. We've had some tough issues with public relations directors, media relations guys, but there are a lot of good ones out there, and I know Scott and I, especially when he was in Michigan, we've dealt with a lot of media people, media relations people, and there's a lot of them that do deserve our thanks for credentialing and allowing us, because we were not the New York Times, we were not the Chicago Tribune. We were a smaller entity, but again, working hard. And I know Scott covered so many games, and that was wonderful. And I just tell you, it is a fun business. The future is so bright for Sideline and for the South Florida Tribune. It's just tremendous opportunity. And I appreciate the first class efforts you all make on all these shows. You really do. Thank you.
Well, I got to mention Sideline Sports because they're in this thing called the book, Lessons from the Microphone. You get in this book, you had to earn your way in there. We got the people like the JBOs, we got the Jacob Christner, we have the Denzel Snipes, the big 3 anyways. Of course, I mentioned John Shearer and Jake Mallett for a cup of coffee since they showed me how to do this StreamYard thing. But yeah, we go out there and have it. And by the way, one of the things I'm really thankful for is my dad's still alive. I get to see him tomorrow for Thanksgiving dinner, albeit I think there's a rib place here that's open on Thanksgiving in these neck of the woods. And, I do have to say this. 3 years ago, 2020, November 28th, 2020, my mom died because of COPD. So it'll be 3 years next week that she's been gone. And Thanksgiving's a little bit difficult for me every year since my mom's passing. I'm just glad I was able to find a way to hammer my way through some very cold temperatures to get there on time and go from there. So, yeah, that's a little hard. But you know what? Let's go back to Sideline for a moment. Been with them better part of a year, a little over a year now, JB, something like that. You're always quick to respond to my text messages, which come faster than I talk. Okay. And I realize I do talk very fast. And this guy is very good about not only helping us on social media, but returning those text messages in a very timely manner. But I think what's enjoyable about my constant communication with you, JB, is we both see the same things. Obviously, we have some things in the works for 2024, which will divulge as time goes on. But this is just another step toward the joint operating partnership that we have, that we're looking forward to not only increasing our fan base, but continue to do what we need to do, and that's educate, entertain, and inform. So, I feel, Dad, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And of course, you know what? I enjoy coming on shows with JB and all you guys. You guys are family. There's no doubt about it. I've only known George Eichhorn forever, so it is what it is. So he always gets an earful for me. Then again, he's used to it. So what's the difference? And Jacob, I got to tell you something about you, pal. You know what? If there's ever a guy to me that has come a long way, that will go a long way since you adhere to coaching. To me, you've come a long way, and I'm glad that if I can be of any assistance to you, my goal is just to help you win any.
Well, and I always appreciate because I'm learning from the best.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and with JB and everybody, when I say, like I say, when I say things like media, I'm not talking to us. You understand? Us is a media that's honest, that's trying to bring the reputation back proper. And I'm proud to be here. I wouldn't go to anything else unless I don't care how many millions and billions of dollars the other side's having, because I would love to be able to get some of that money. But I want a situation where if anybody was to take me or to be able to do this thing, I want them to have the same idea that we're, of whether it is punditry or it is journalism or whatever, they have the same idea of being honest and not just a click thing like clickbait. And that's what I said. So when I say media, I'm not talking us. We're the next step, not them.
The one thing that you have to continue to do that I've noticed that you do with Pundits Fun It is I like the fact that you're very different. You have a magazine style format and you're not afraid to go up there and talk about all the tough topics. That's the one thing I've learned from my mentors, to be different and be versatile. All right, now that we've done all this self-promoting here, I've got one or two storylines. We're going to have predictions about tomorrow's Thanksgiving football games. All right, Mac Jones is hopeful he'll start despite the Patriots quarterback uncertainty. All right, well, you know what? I have a couple topics we'll get to, just mini ones where they're very brief. What do you think, Mac, about Mac Jones? Will he be starting despite all the QB uncertainty? Jacob?
Who cares?
Tell me how you really feel.
I just
you can even lead it as a who cares if you want to. Yeah, he's tongue-tied. Forget it. All right, on to JB Ellis.
Listen, mac and cheese is more exciting than Mac Jones.
Exactly.
The Patriots, they're in trouble. They're going to lose Belichick at the end of the year. Mac Jones is not the guy. You might as well play somebody else and hope they lose anyway so they can move further for a draft pick.
Well, you, George?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's probably not 100%. Obviously, we know that, but Mac Jones is, to me, he's been a frustrating person, just like the whole team has been frustrating this past year or more. I agree. I think Belichick has to go. I mean, one way or the other. There was a great run he had, but the game has kind of passed him by a little bit, or else he needs just a better scenery with a chance for a contending team, that kind of thing. But I mean, Mac Jones is Mac Jones. I mean, I hope the kid can do some good, but it's just another really bad season for the New England Patriots.
Well, I say put Bailey Zappi in there. What do you got to lose at this particular point?
Yeah.
You're already losing anyways. Give him a full game or two. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Put in Bailey Zappi before they get zapped.
Yeah, all right. I know you're trying to get creative with the rhymes. Okay, leave it alone. Okay, you had your turn. I have mine. I always like to mention that line one time per show. I say give it to Bailey Zappi, and you might as well go out there and go ahead and go from there. All right, another managerial hiring that's actually worth talking about. The San Diego Padres hire Mikeshildt as their manager. Why St. Louis ever got rid of him is anybody's guess, but he's going to the San Diego Padres as Bob Melvin went up to the San Francisco Giants. Okay, is this another one of your who cares here, Mr. Pundit?
Not at all. Mikeshildt is a top-notch manager. And he would have been a lot better than David Ross. Maybe the Cubs have one now, but I would have taken Mikeshildt any day of the week. That's San Diego is they're going to start winning now. He's got a high expectation, and I'm happy for them. And I'm like, that's the big thing is like why St. Louis got rid of them is, I don't know why. And the thing is, St. Louis had a reputation for the longest time. Now they don't. They just finally missed out this year and had a bad year. It's like, this is what happens when you overthink things just a little bit.
What do you think, JB, about Mikeshildt?
Well, really quick to Jacob's point about St. Louis, the reason why they're doing so bad, guy named Matt Blood, who was in the front office. That whole front office went to Baltimore, and you can see the transformation in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And, that's why Baltimore is doing as well as they are, and St. Louis is on a decline. But I think it's a great hire by San Diego. They have talent. They are a good team. They just need the right guy to lead them, and hopefully, they can turn the corner and make that division interesting, and not just Dodgers, and more Dodgers.
Okay, George.
Yeah, I think it's a good hire too. I really do. I mean, he had quite a nice run with the Cardinals, manager of the year. I think it was about 4 years ago, and he definitely is very valuable. He's been a valuable bench coach, but moving back in, I know they only gave him 2 years, but that's okay. I mean, he's got a lot to give to that team, and he'll bring a lot of good things to the Padres, who obviously suffered this past year with some bad performances, bad games. But yeah, I think he's a good manager, a good selection, and I always liked him too as well when he was with the Cards.
All right, here's a good feel-good story. The Philadelphia Phillies signed Aaron Nola to a 7-year deal, reportedly worth $172 million, which ensures that he'll probably play his entire career with Philadelphia. We don't see that often, but boy, it's good that we'll probably see it here. Some thoughts, Mr. Pundit?
Every once in a blue moon, you're going to get these. We get less and less and less of these players that are playing longer for a team. But we're about to. I mean, Cardinals going to lose Wainwright, and they just lost his catcher. I apologize. Yachty. They just lost him, so those are 20 years. And then for one team, and then we was getting less and less and less. But then now you get Nola, possibility. So every once in a blue moon, like we'll say with football, you don't see the Warriors anymore. But every once in a blue moon, then you get Matt Stafford. Then you get Josh Allen, who want to give it all. So I think we should all, as pundits, we all as people, and we all as fans, should stop saying it's not like that. Maybe it's less like it. But every once in a blue moon, you're going to get the guy that wants to stay. I mean, let's just say another football player that stayed in Philadelphia for a while, Boston Scott, who does mostly utility work and everything like that. But he's been about 7-8 years. And it's like every once in a blue moon, you're going to get these players, the guy that's the warrior, the guy that wants to stay, the guy who's just basically family and thinking with his head, and not the money. So there's that. And it's like, let's just, as fans and pundits or whatever, just say maybe it's not as much, but it's there. You know what I mean?
Okay, JB.
Listen, most guys don't ever want to leave a team they've come up with. If the opportunity is there to make close to or the same amount of money, most guys want to play in the place where they, came up and have friends and, know the situation. They don't have to move their family. Nobody wants to wake up one day and say, gee, I got to move to a different city because I got an extra $1 or $2 million. But if the money's that much different, they're going to do that. So he proved his worth. The Phillies rewarded him by giving him a fair deal. And now he'll stay there, hopefully, his whole career. But, generally, nobody says, gee, I want to jump ship and go to a different team unless, A, the team is horrible, or it's a huge disparity in what they're going to pay you. Those are the two reasons why people leave teams.
George?
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where, a lot of times you're paying the pitchers, the starters, and the hitters as well, too. You're paying them for past accomplishments. I know Dave Dombrowski, I read some of the comments he made about this one, re-signing Nola. Good organization, man. Good guy in the clubhouse. He's proven himself. What was he, 12-9 this year? But I think it's a good choice. I mean, you always take a risk, obviously, when you reward pitchers with long-term deals. But hey, if you want to retain somebody that you feel is of value and is contributing to your team, sometimes you have to do that. And I think that's why Dombrowski and the Phillies gave him the long-term deal. I always admired him. I thought he was a good pitcher. This year, not so good, but again, he's been really good in the past. I think it's a credit to the fine shape he keeps himself in, and he's forever trying to get better himself as a pitcher. He's a good kid. I like him.
All right, one thing I'm just going to notate individually, and I'll have one other, and then we'll talk about Thanksgiving football. Former AL MVP Tigers great Willie Hernandez passed away at 69. You want to talk about one of the greatest seasons out there for a reliever? Think about this. Detroit acquired Hernandez from the Philadelphia Phillies barely 2 weeks before opening day in 1984, and the train turned his career around almost overnight. Armed with a devastating screwball, his 84 campaign was one of the greatest seasons ever, as I mentioned, for a reliever. He went 9-3 with a 1.92 earned run average, 0.954 whip, 112 strikeouts, 32 saves, and 6 homers allowed across a league-leading 80 appearances for the 104 and 58 Tigers. He remains the only left-handed reliever to win the MVP and Cy Young in the same season. So, and then you talk about his dominance in 84, extended to the playoffs where he tallied another 3 saves with a 1.93 earned run average. In Game 5 of the World Series at Tiger Stadium, Hernandez tallied a 2-inning save to clinch the title for Detroit. All I can say is rest in peace, Willie. A lot of people in Motown will never forget you. One other thing, anybody want a quick comment? I have one more thing before we go out there, and I mean really quick. I have one other thing I want to address. Jacob,
Well,
quick.
I just want to echo your sentiments, Scott. Obviously, on Willie Hernandez, a valuable player. What a terrific trade that was when Bill LaJoy and Jim Campbell pulled that off. And Hernandez is a great guy. Much too early to lose him. 69 years old. We've lost so many of the ones from 68, but now we're losing some from the 84 Tigers team. But good guy and a great athlete. Thanks for mentioning him.
Oh, no problem. Jacob, JB, you want to say anything about this or not?
Sure, quickly. 84 is when I started watching baseball, 6 years old, absorbing it, just what I'm saying. And see, growing up, you're just seeing from like, okay, Mickey Mantle passes away, Joe DiMaggio passes away, those types. You know what I'm saying? You see that. But when you know you're getting some age on you is when 84 they're passing. You know, and then and when you see 1984, it means they're near 70. So it just comes into a thing that life goes on, life passes. And in this era, it's too early to die at 69. That's too early of a life. But I mean, it could be disease, it could be anything. But usually 69 is a new 30, 40, depending on the person. But you just can't ever tell.
Nice to know. Thank you very much for the words of wisdom. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, Joe. And I say that sarcastically this time.
Listen, it's sad to see these guys unfortunately pass away. I mean, I remember the 84 team. I, like Jacob, was a young kid back then, you know, and you're just getting into baseball. And, you know, it was a great team. They started out on fire. They put everybody away early. They were fun to watch, you know, and to see somebody pass away at a young age, it's always sad to see.
All right, one other baseball note, and then we'll wrap this puppy up here. The New York Yankees hired Brad Ausmus as their bench coach. So, you know, I'm glad to see Brad have an opportunity to go to New York, be a bench coach. Maybe you'll have an opportunity to go to a franchise and not inherit franchises on the town side. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get some predictions for Thanksgiving. Only Thanksgiving, and that's it. Okay. The early game. I don't need scores. I just need winners. Okay. We'll start off with Jacob.
Pick the game. Pick all the games.
No, I'll give you
Detroit,
one.
I'm going to say Detroit. I'm going to say
Detroit against Green Bay.
Detroit.
Okay. Washington against Dallas.
Oh, Dallas, easy.
And last but not least, the 49ers and the Seahawks.
Niners, but in a field goal.
JB?
Listen, I think Detroit wins easy.
Washington, Dallas.
I think Dallas wins easy.
And last but not least, 49ers against the Seahawks.
San Francisco wins easy. I don't think they're going to be very fun games to watch. I like all three favorites.
Okay, well, for that matter, I'll throw one more game on the only Black Friday contest out there, the Miami Dolphins and the Jets. All right, go ahead, Jacob. Just
make that 4 crazy ones, and it's Tim Boyle, so Miami's got to murder him.
Okay, all right, Joe.
I'm with Jacob. I mean, 4 primetime games in 2 days, and I don't think any of them is going to be much fun to watch.
George?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the Lions, with Dallas, and with San Francisco, and I will go with Miami. So,
Well,
yep.
I won't lose voice saying this. Ditto. There you got it. Lions, Cowboys, 49ers, and the Dolphins. All right. With that said, okay, just want to mention one last time that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter at Tribune South, Twitter, X, whatever. Candy Ebling behind the scenes. And this is my book, and that's Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. This can be purchased on Amazon and Kindle. All right, I'll go around the horn. Jacob, let them know where they can find you.
4 or 5 days a week, depending on the backup plan for the TV shows. I also write. I'm also on the Twitter on Jake the Pundit and X, and I'm on TikTok at Jake the Pundit 1 and other areas.
Good. Glad we got the Cliff Notes version. Very good. Progress, as they say back in Canada. All right, Joe.
JB_ the program on X, NGBN TV starting yesterday. WDJY 99.1 twice a week, Wednesday morning, Sunday right before kickoff. Alumni Media, and everywhere else we could be.
George?
You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. I write for Scott in the South Florida Tribune and the Motor City Tribune. At the end of that column, you'll always see a link if you want to purchase my book, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. Otherwise, you can find me on 108 Stitches and all these great shows, the football show, the pundit show, and the Sports Exchange. Glad to be part of the network.
All right, so on behalf of myself, Jacob Christner, the Pundit's Pundit, JB Ellis, and George Eichhorn, we want to wish everybody a very happy, enjoyable Thanksgiving, and we will see you next Wednesday night on another edition of the Sports Exchange. Be safe, enjoy the food, and more importantly, enjoy the memories. Good night, everybody.
Why?